What's up, guys, and welcome into a Mississippi State recap / Oklahoma preview edition of the Rally Time podcast. I'm your host, Justin Babin Jr., as always, and look who we got in the producer's chair this morning. Christian is usually here all the time producing the show, but we got Lloyd Courtney making a guest appearance
I had to make my
on
debut.
the Rally Time podcast, making his debut as Christian is in Oklahoma over spring break, and he's not going to be at the games this weekend, apparently. Apparently he's in a part of Oklahoma that's 3 hours away from Norman. Not sure if you want to be in Norman this weekend because of the weather forecast. Yeah, so we are only doing one show this week. Wasn't able to do a recap show, so we're going to start with first 10 minutes, just give some brief takeaways from the Mississippi State series that was from this past weekend. And overall, it was a great showing. It was a great series sweep. It was kind of weird how it played out with Friday and Saturday. Friday, first pitch was at 9, and then 9:30 was the first pitch time on Saturday for game 3, and I don't think they finished till close to 2 a.m. in the morning, early Sunday morning, so it was kind of weird how it played out. Few thoughts from me. I thought the lineup was really great, especially on Saturday. They just hammered the ball in game 3, scoring 17 runs against Mississippi State's pitching staff. In game 1, the lineup kind of started slow, but had that big 5-run 5th inning with the homers from Daniel Dickinson and Steven Milam. This lineup has been so good all season. It's still leading the SEC in team batting average at this point in the season. They put a lot of runs up, and they really help this team succeed in many ways, and they can score runs in many ways. But the stars of the weekend for me were Zach Cowan and Kason Evans by far. Zach Cowan and Kason Evans continue to prove, at least to me, that they're two of the top bullpen arms in the entire country. I mean, what they did, they basically won you the games on Thursday and Friday. Thursday, Zach Cowan came in, and, he pitched the final 4 innings in a really tight game. It was, 7-6 for a while until LSU scored another run in the 8th inning to extend it to the final score of 8-6. But, Zach Cowan and Kason Evans were absolutely on point this weekend. They're lights out coming out of the bullpen. They both do a really great job. It's kind of similar to the way they attack hitters, in my opinion. They both do a really great job of changing speeds with their change-ups, and they both just absolutely pound and attack the strike zone. They have the great change of speeds with their change-ups. Now, Kason Evans has a little bit faster velo on his fastball that gets up to 96, but they both do a really good job of changing speeds and fooling hitters. And, really, like I said earlier, they're two of the best bullpen arms in the country. I haven't seen everyone. What they've done is very impressive. Cowan on Thursday pitched the final 4 innings, didn't allow a run, only allowed 1 hit in those final 4 innings. Then he struck out 7. And then Evans didn't give up a run in the final 4 innings of the game on Friday. He allowed 2 hits and 3 walks, but he struck out 6 and didn't allow a run. That's really 2 games for both of these pitchers now. Kason Evans, if you remember all the way back to the first weekend of SEC play, that Saturday game against Missouri, that was a 1-run game, and I believe Kason Evans came in the 8th and just shut Missouri down and basically single-handedly won LSU the game. And then he did the same thing on Friday night in Game 2 against Mississippi State. And then Zach Cowan came in Friday night last week in Texas and shut down a good Texas lineup in the final 3 innings, and then did the same exact thing on Thursday against Mississippi State. So those 2 guys have been absolutely dynamic duo out of the bullpen from Zach Cowan and Kason Evans. They've been really great. Few more notes I have. I also thought Anthony Ianson was really good overall. He struck out 12 on Friday. He was really good. His breaking ball is filthy. It's a great breaking ball. Really like what I've seen out of Ianson. He doesn't get the acclaim, I feel like, that Anderson, Evans, and Cowan do. But Anthony Ianson has been really solid overall this season, and I think he's still top 5 in total strikeouts in the SEC. So he's been a really good 1-2 punch with Anderson going on game 1 and Ianson going on game 2. So I like what I've seen out of Ianson. Cade Anderson was shaky in game 1. He got bitten by the long ball a couple times on Thursday. Still have complete confidence in Cade Anderson. He's the best arm on the staff, and he's shown that. He showed that against Texas. He showed that against Missouri. Maybe the extra, losing a day's rest in between starts, not starting on Friday, starting on Thursday, kind of jumping up. Maybe that also got stung by the long ball a couple times on Thursday, but he fought in full confidence in Cade Anderson. And then the last thing, game 3, where LSU used Cowan and Evans, used them up in the first 2 games. In game 3, the hitters in that game scored 17 runs, put up 17 runs. But the bullpen still struggled behind, Cowan and Evans, who had already pitched. The bullpen still struggled with command as they walked 7 in the final game of the series on Saturday, and they hit 4 more Mississippi State batters. So, we talked about it last week on the Mississippi State preview show about really finding at least 2, preferably 3 more guys that you can rely on out of the bullpen in SEC play. The sweep is great. You're 7-2 in conference play. You feel really good about it. Feel really good about where you're at, but you still have a lot of question marks after Zach Cowan and Case and Evans, the bullpen, and you still have stuff to figure out because I don't know how sustainable the formula was against Mississippi State. The formula against Mississippi State was, okay, Zach Cowan, Case, and Evans come in. Also Anthony Ianson was great on Friday as well, as we mentioned. Zach Cowan and Case and Evans come in and kind of shut the door in the first 2 games. And then in game 3 on Sunday, you just outscored them. Mississippi State scored 8 runs, so they put up a lot of offense. But you scored 17. So is that sustainable against arm, especially late in the season when you have number 1 Tennessee and number 3 Arkansas coming into town? And then you also have to face a good Alabama team who's number 9 in the country right now. So especially late in the season, that formula is not, it's not optimal. I don't think it's sustainable, but 7-2 is 7-2 in conference play, and it's a great start. You're 6-0 in home SEC games. It was a really good weekend. From LSU. I like what I saw from the Tigers. Let's get into this series this weekend. We are filming this on a Wednesday, so tomorrow night, hopefully, barring any weather, the forecast in Oklahoma, Lloyd was telling me, did not look too great over the weekend, but LSU will play at number 10 Oklahoma this weekend, a 3-game series on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So Oklahoma right now, according to D1 Baseball, is the number 10 team in the country. They're 23-5 overall and 5-4 in SEC play. Oklahoma so far in conference play, they won 2 out of 3 at South Carolina. They won 2 out of 3 home against Mississippi State, but they are coming off of they dropped 2 out of 3 on the road against number 9 Alabama, who, as we said earlier, Alabama has been a really impressive team this season, especially Justin LeBron is a top hitter. If you haven't seen this guy, just look up some of his stats. It's eye-popping what he's doing on Alabama. I'll, definitely be interested in covering him when we, preview Alabama in a couple weeks. But Oklahoma is currently 10th in the SEC with a 296 team batting average for 10th in the SEC and 9th in the SEC with a 4.15 team ERA. The biggest challenge for LSU against this Oklahoma team is righty Kyson Witherspoon, who is the ace, lights out ace for this Oklahoma pitching staff. Kyson Witherspoon is their ace. He has a 5-1 record on the season with a 2.31 ERA and 39 innings, 64 strikeouts to only 10 walks and 7 starts. You know, he's second in the SEC in terms of strikeouts with 64 and third in the SEC with that ERA of 2.31. So Kyson Witherspoon has been dynamite this season. He is one of the best arms in the country, one of the best arms in the SEC by far. He has a fastball that averages 96, but can get up. You know, he's got up to 99 miles an hour with his fastball this season. He has a slider, curveball, cutter, and a changeup that's honestly faster than a lot of pitchers' fastballs. He throws heat, and he's got power coming out of his hand. And Kyson Witherspoon's been really impressive this season. His last outing last weekend against Alabama, he did give up 4 runs, 3 earned in 4 innings. He walked 3, he hit 1 batter, and he struck out 6. So wasn't as great a start against Alabama last week for Kyson Witherspoon, but he's been really good this season. I mean, 64 strikeouts and 7 starts compared to only 10 walks. I mean, that strikeout to walk ratio is astounding, and it shows you just how good he's been. The interesting thing about this Oklahoma pitching staff is actually Kyson Witherspoon's twin brother, Malachi Witherspoon, is a righty who is also another starter for Oklahoma. So 1-2 punch on the mound for the Witherspoon brothers. Malachi Witherspoon is a righty who has a 2-2 record, 5.74 ERA in 31 1/3 innings with 33 strikeouts and 16 walks in 7 starts, just like his brother. Malachi's fastball is also, he also throws heat. It's between 95 and 98. He also has a really nice slider as well. Malachi did get roughed up in his last start against Alabama. He gave up 8 runs in 5 innings against Alabama on Sunday to close out the series. So Kyson's definitely the best pitcher on the staff. Malachi hasn't been as good with that 5.74 ERA, but he still throws heat, and he's still shown some good talent this season as well. You'll also most likely see lefty Cade Crossland get a start. Cade Crossland has a 1-1 record with a ERA in the mid-6s. He's pitched 24 1/3 innings, 29 strikeouts, 13 walks, and 4 starts. He's started a game in every SEC series thus far, so he's really gotten more starts as the SEC play has progressed. So I expect you'll see the 2 Witherspoon brothers on the mound starting and Cade Crossland on the mound starting as well. Crossland has a fastball between 92 and 95. Also has a pretty nice slider and a changeup as well. In his last start last weekend against Bama, Crossland went 6 innings, gave up 2 earned runs on 6 hits, 1 walk, and 7 strikeouts. Just kind of going through, I don't think this guy's going to get a start, but I figured he deserved to mention, LSU transfer lefty Cameron Johnson plays for Oklahoma. He's gotten 6 starts on the season, but he's been starting lately. He's had a few midweek starts because he's still struggling with command. Even at Oklahoma, he's still struggling with command. His strikeout to walk ratio, he has 21 strikeouts on the season to 17 walks. So he's still struggling with his command, is Cam Johnson. He has a fastball between 96 and 98, 2-0 record, 5.59 ERA in 19 1/3 innings with 21 Ks and 17 walks and 6 starts. But, I don't expect him to get a start this weekend. I mean, he started last night in the midweek game for Oklahoma against Texas Tech. Maybe he comes out of the bullpen. That's why I'm mentioning him, and also he's an LSU transfer, so give him a shout out as well a little bit. But, yeah, you might see Johnson. Probably not.
Quick on Cam Johnson, I'm just looking at his stat line. The last 3 games, he has pitched against South Carolina, didn't record an out, but had a hit by pitch and a walk. And then against UT Arlington, he threw a 1 full inning, 3 earned, 4 walks, 1 strikeout, and another hit by pitch. And then last night against Texas Tech, he has 1 earned, 3 walks again, and another hit by pitch. So, yes, he has been – we saw flashes of this with Cam Johnson where the talent is elite, but he has struggled with command, and it has become more of an issue over the past 3 games than it has been all year.
Yeah, like I said, I brought him up, but I looked at the stat line earlier from last night against Texas Tech, and I was like, this guy's you probably won't see him this weekend. Most likely, you probably won't see him. But I just did want to bring it up just in case, because I'm like, if Cam Johnson shows up, which I don't expect him to, I'll just give him a shout out. Moving to the bullpen, Oklahoma's a really, really good closer out of the bullpen. Right-hander Dylan Crooks is tied for the most saves in the country with 8 saves on the season. Along with those 8 saves, he also had another save last night against Texas Tech, so I believe he's up to 9 saves at this point. Along with that, Crooks has a 1.50 ERA in 18 innings, 17 strikeouts, 7 walks. Crooks' fastball gets up to 96. He has a nice slider and a changeup as well. So Dylan Crooks is definitely the top bullpen arm out of the pen for this Oklahoma team. I mean, 9 saves on the season, tied for the lead in the country is very good. So pay attention to Dylan Crooks. I expect you'll see him in multiple outings this weekend against LSU because he is the most reliable bullpen arm for this Oklahoma Sooners team. A few more bullpen arms. Righty Jason Bowden has a 6.30 ERA, 20 innings, 20 strikeouts, 8 walks. Bowden has a fastball between 93 and 96, along with a slider and a changeup. Lefty James Hitt has a fastball that can land anywhere between 89, high 80s and 93 miles an hour. Gets up to 93. 3.21 ERA for Hitt, 14 innings, 17 Ks, 6 walks. Left-hander Gavin Jones has a 3.71 ERA, 17 innings, 16 Ks, 1 walk. Gavin Jones' fastball gets up to 96. Also has a slider and a changeup. Right-hander Reed Hensley has a 1.17 ERA, so pretty low ERA for Reed Hensley in 15 1/3 innings with 17 Ks and 4 walks. Hensley has a pretty good breaking ball. I was looking at a little bit of some highlights on YouTube and also some other highlights from this Oklahoma team in my preview. And Reed Hensley, when he comes in, he's going to feature that breaking ball a lot. But he's got that ERA in the low 1s, so he's been pretty good this season for this Oklahoma team. And then right-hander Michael Catalano has a 4.91 ERA, 11 innings, 17 Ks, 3 walks, fastball between 92 and 93, along with a slider. So it's a decent pitching staff for the Sooners team. I mean, Kyson Witherspoon and Dylan Crooks are the ones that you're going to want to look out for. Kyson Witherspoon is just like Pico Khan was on Friday, kind of the same dominance, that we've seen from both of them, which LSU, got, I believe, 2 solo home runs off of Pico Khan in the form of an Ethan Fry solo home run and a Luis Hernandez solo home run. Who Ethan Fry and Luis Hernandez bats, they've been heating up lately at the plate. They've been really good. I believe Luis Hernandez had 2 homers this past weekend against Mississippi State, and then Ethan Fry had a homer this weekend against the Bulldogs, and then he had a homer last night against Louisiana Tech as well. So both of their bats have been heating up, and they've both been pretty good. Seen some pretty good stuff out of them. So it's a decent pitching staff, kind of middle in the road rankings-wise for this Oklahoma team. I believe, after Witherspoon and Crooks, I believe LSU batters can get after them. I really do, especially with how good LSU's been batting at the plate so far this season. Moving to the lineup, the bats for the Sooners. Trey Gamble leads the team for the Sooners with a .377 average, 6 doubles, 1 homer, and 10 RBIs. Trey Gamble also leads the team in on-base percentage at .538.36. So Trey Gamble's been really good. Kyle Branch is another guy. Kyle Branch is batting .340. Branch has 8 doubles, 1 bomb, and 19 RBIs. Jackson Willits is batting .308. 3 doubles, 2 triples. Team leading 7 homers and 27 RBIs, which is tied with Easton Carmichael for most on the team. I would say pay attention as far as power. Pay attention to Jackson Willits with that 7 home runs and that 27 RBIs. He had another homer last night against Texas Tech. Easton Carmichael also has 27 RBIs. And, both Carmichael and Willits had homers last night. So I'd say as far as power, kind of pay attention to Jackson Willits and Easton Carmichael on this Oklahoma squad. Carmichael's average is .296, 6 doubles, 2 triples, 5 bombs for Carmichael, and 27 RBIs. I'd say the top 3 hitters for this Oklahoma team, just to give you, we have a few more hitters we're going to go through, but I'd say pay attention to Trey Gamble, leading the team in average and OBP, and then Jackson Willits and Easton Carmichael leading the team in terms of power. So pay attention to them when they come up to the plate this weekend for Oklahoma. Another guy who had a really good weekend, had two bombs last weekend against Oklahoma. Dayton Taki is batting .301 with 5 doubles, 1 triple, and 5 bombs. 19 RBIs. The reason I mention him is he did hit 2 home runs in, I believe, Game 1 and Game 3 at Alabama last weekend. So coming off a pretty good weekend. Jason Walk and Sam Christensen are both batting .289 with 4 home runs. Walk has been pretty good lately. He's had a homer in back-to-back games. Jason Walk had an inside-the-park home run in Game 3 Sunday against Alabama, and he had another bomb last night against Texas Tech. And then Sam Christensen also hit a bomb last weekend against Alabama. So, breaking down the pitching and the hitting staff, the pitching staff and the hitting for Oklahoma, they kind of middle of the road, middle of the pack, but they're 5-4 in SEC play. They're number 10 in the country for the reason, and you're on the road for, this is your second road series in SEC play, and the first one you got bitten by a good Texas lineup, especially, and it's gonna be kind of the same thing, if you're not careful and if you don't stay consistent, especially pitching wise. As we're about to get into our predictions, and if Lloyd, if you have anything for predictions, obviously put them out there. But the thing for me is the formula last week, as we explained against Mississippi State, was Cowan and Evans, Thursday and Friday coming in for Anderson and Ianson, and they both came in and shut the door on Mississippi State. And then in the final game on Game 3, you just scored 17 runs, even though your pitching staff walked 7 and hit 4. Now, like I said, it's still my one concern. I'm not concerned with the lineup. The lineup's been great. I'm good with, I thought Chase Shores had his best start in SEC play against Mississippi State. I actually thought Chase Shores was pretty good, except for one inning when he gave up 4 runs in the second inning against Mississippi State. I thought Shores was pretty good, actually, Saturday, besides that one inning. My one concern is still, besides Kason Evans and Zach Cowan, you do not have a reliable arm so far proven in SEC play. You've had some good non-conference, some good arms come and have good performances out of conference, but in SEC conference play, the only arms you've been able to rely on through 9 games out of the bullpen have been Zach Cowan and Kason Evans, and I just don't know how sustainable that is. And it's just that's what I'm looking for. It's the same thing as last weekend, where can you find 2 or 3 more arms that you can depend on out of the bullpen? I mean, last night, I thought what was interesting was you kind of saw, even though it was a midweek, them trying out a bunch of different lefties, because you don't have a left-hander out of the bullpen that you can depend on, because DJ Primo, who you've tried to throw out there, has struggled the past few outings. So, Lloyd, just kind of heading into this weekend, what are your thoughts? What are any predictions? Who do you think wins the series? Maybe something like that?
I was going to ask you a question, actually, because you've seen that LSU has tried to use only pretty much 2 guys out the pen, right? Like you were saying, when you've seen Zach Cowan and Kason Evans come in and almost have to be an extended starter, where they come in and try to get through 4 or 5 innings, and they've been able to do so. If you had to have one more arm out the pen, obviously you saw William Schmidt go, and they tried him in this relief role for the past 2 SEC series. You see him throw 50 pitches last night, so he probably won't be available until Game 3. If you had to have another name, because I have one for you, but I wanted to see what who you think could be outside of Kason Evans and Zach Cowan.
I'll give you...
It's a tough question.
I said this name last week, so it's kind of the same thing. I like Maverick Rizzi stuff. Like, I really do. I like Maverick Rizzi a lot. The thing is, command, obviously. I would say another name, I'll give you 2. I like Maverick Rizzi. I thought Connor Ware was pretty good the first, he was good against Missouri, and then it was weird. He only pitched 1, I think he only recorded 1 out against Texas, and then I forget how much he pitched against Mississippi State, but I also I like Rizzi and I like Connor Ware, but the thing is, I like their stuff, but we talked about it at the beginning of the season. This LSU staff has plenty of guys who throw above 95 miles an hour, have plenty of guys who throw heat. But you can have the stuff. If you don't have the command, it doesn't mean anything. It's like Cam Johnson, perfect example, throws up to 98, but I mean, he's got 17 walks on the season, and he's only been able to get through, not even 1 inning in the past couple of starts for Oklahoma, and it's kind of the same thing for LSU. It's the same problem that has appeared through 9 games outside of Zach Cowan and Kason Evans.
Right, that's where you start getting into trouble, because you look at the game against Mississippi State in Game 3 where they gave up 8 runs. And you had 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 walks, and then how many hit by how many people?
4.
So you that's 11 free passes.
Yeah,
and that's how you're able to put up 8 runs. You're lucky that LSU has an offense that can continue to bang, and they can put up 17 on you, and always seem to have that crooked inning where they put up a crooked number on you and be able to kind of get the lead and hold the lead. Like, you score 8 runs in the first, and it feels like you're pretty secure, but I think the most impressive part of the weekend was you saw LSU win both ways. You saw them win a 2-1 game, then you see them be able to bang out 17 runs and win a slugfest. But the one name I'll say, because I mentioned the walks, and that's where Connor Ware comes into the picture, because he was the name that all Jay was raving about was Connor Ware throughout. He said he was their best pitcher on the staff.
Best pitcher in fall ball.
But yeah, throughout the fall, and you saw it, and it was good.
It was good the first couple
But
of
after
hours.
that Texas series, yes, it seems like it's kind of gone downhill. But to continue to see him, you have to find another guy. I agree with you. I was going to give you Jaden Newt. I feel like after his 2 midweek starts, he's starting to show he can get people out. He has command, and I think that's somebody that they could maybe use to bridge the gap again. If it's not I agree. Kason Evans or Zach Cowan. Those 2 are. That seems to be the strategy. We talked to Kason Evans on Monday, and he said that going into the second game after what Zach Cowan did and was able to finish it out and not have to use Kason Evans, Jay went to him and said, if we have a lead in Game 2, we're going to do the exact same thing with you. I want to see you be able to finish. I'm going to put you in a position to where you might have to go a certain number of innings, because you've seen them extend him, and he has his longest outing of the year, and he's able to close the game for you. So I think he's a guy that you have to continue to. That's a strategy they're going to use. It does feel like it's high risk, high reward, and then you even saw who came in for, what is it, Connor Benj that came in for one inning also over the weekend. So yeah, you'll be able to see. They still do need a guy. They have to find one or two guys. If it's not going to be Schmidt,
I would say at least two.
Right.
At least two.
Because you see, whenever it gets, like, you don't have a Zach Cowan or a Kason Evans available, it becomes, let's throw the whole kitchen sink at it. They don't have a long leash at all. If he sees something he doesn't like, Jay's quick to rip the cord, and you would like to see somebody be able to step up. And I do believe you said a name that I agree with too, that he's been pitching really well in his last three outings, is Maverick Rizzi. So they have the talent, they have the stuff, but you can't give away free passes the way that they have.
It's just command. Like, that's as simple as it is. I think it's you have to be able to go out there and throw strikes. And I'll say this: look, 7-2 is a great start. I am very happy with the start for LSU and all of that. Right? You're very happy with the start. But the back half of the schedule is a brew. You have Tennessee coming in town and Arkansas coming in town. Two top 3 teams. You have another top 10 team in Alabama who's been really impressive this season. The back half of this schedule in terms of SEC play is the heavier half. And you got to be able. I also think it's interesting. We mentioned this. I mentioned this to you before the show. LSU, starting tomorrow night against Oklahoma, will be on the road for 7 straight games. They have the game at Nichols next week for their midweek, and then they play at Auburn next week after they play at Oklahoma this weekend. So,
and the last time we saw this team on the road, in an SEC series, and that's what I think is. You mentioned how the schedule kind of gets it's backloaded, right, with all of the talented teams that you're going to face in the SEC. That's why I think it was crucial for LSU. You don't ever expect a sweep, but to be able to get 2 sweeps early on and pile up 7 SEC wins, you'd have to say job well done up to this point.
Absolutely. 7-2 to start the season is great. It's what you needed, but you definitely have to still find those arms out of the bullpen. I mean, the lineup's not a question for me. It's not a question for me as far as if this team's going to be able to hit, but just bullpen-wise, can you find two more guys? Because you're going to need it, especially later in the season against Tennessee, Arkansas, and Alabama and squads like that. You're going to need more contribution out of the bullpen.
Yeah, and you're going to have to find it before that. You don't want to still be going into the Tennessee series, the Alabama series, the Arkansas, and be like, we still haven't found that third and fourth guy.
Yeah.
Because that's when it'll get loud.
I think you will see Jaden Newt at some point this weekend. I do. Because he didn't pitch last night. So he's fresh. As far as predictions, I mean, I'm going to say, for me, and Lloyd, if you have a prediction for how you think this weekend's going to go, feel free to share, of course.
Absolutely.
For me, I'm going to say LSU wins Thursday and Friday. Same thing. I think you're going to see Zach Cowan and Kason Evans. One of them's going to pitch late Thursday, one of them's going to pitch late Friday. I think LSU's going to win 2 out of 3 this weekend. I think they have an advantage because they played a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series, whereas Oklahoma played Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So their pitching staff has 1 extra day of rest as far as starters. Like, Kyson Witherspoon is losing 1 day of rest this week. And, we saw kind of how that impacted Cade Anderson a little bit last week against Mississippi State. So I'm going to say LSU wins 2 out of 3, and I'm going to say they win Thursday and Friday using Zach Cowan, Kason Evans, Anthony Ianson, and Cade Anderson, and they lose the game on Saturday and get to what? That would put you at 9-3 in conference play, which you still feel good about. But it's just the biggest thing for me this weekend is just, can you find more arms? Like, can you find, more arms out of the bullpen? So, Lloyd, what do you think about this weekend?
I have one more question for you. You saw what Mississippi State did with their ace, right? Whenever it was their Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they kept him at 5 days rest and threw him on the game 2. Do you think that Oklahoma does the same thing with Kyson Witherspoon to keep him on 5 days rest?
I definitely think they could. I mean, I think it depends on, honestly, I could definitely see that happening. I could definitely see them. It's kind of interesting what you do with the other two guys, like the other Witherspoon brother and then Cade Crossland, because, like, do you move them up to Thursday? But then they would be operating on, like, Crossland would be operating on missing 2 days of rest. So it's like, do you throw in a bullpen arm? Like, maybe, do you try to get Dylan Crooks an outing early, even though he has technically been your closer? Do you try to get him out of the pen early in Thursday's game? I definitely could see it happen. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if it was me, I would throw Kyson Thursday just to not throw off the rhythm of
the rest of your team, the rest of your pitching staff. And because Mississippi State was in a position where they had an opener, and so that's how they were able to kind of push back a day and throw their ace on. And that's a matchup that I don't know if Cade Anderson, because of how dominant he's been, if they don't want to go ace versus ace and try to steal one on a game 2 scenario and if you want to play that game, you saw Anthony Ianson be able to match up with whoever he was pitching against and win a 2-1 baseball game.
Yeah.
But I just think that's something to look out for, because if they do throw off, then you have Cade Anderson. That feels like a win if he's not going against Kyson Witherspoon. And then you have to look at the Ianson-Witherspoon matchup. But I do think, and I hate doing this because it feels like this is going to be the answer from a lot of people, but I do think 2 out of 3 is also a good call, because until they prove it, until they do it, it's hard to bet on the Game 3 bullpen that you haven't seen yet. And you'll see an opportunity for Schmidt to come in and to be able to come into that baseball game and be a reliever that has an opportunity, because he threw yesterday 50 pitches, like I said, so he won't be really ready to go again until Game 3. But if he can figure it out, then I do like LSU's chance for a sweep. But until I see it with both my eyes, I will have to go ahead and agree with you and say 2 out of 3.
As we close, just want to give you the times now. Again, pay attention to social media this weekend, because the weather's dodgy. The weather's dodgy. I mean, Thursday is 20% at first pitch, so I think they could play the game Thursday when they want to play it, but it'll be interesting. Subject to change. The Thursday game right now is at 6, Friday at 6:30, Saturday at 2. Subject to change. So pay attention to Twitter, whatever, X, Facebook, whatever. Pay attention, because subject to change, but it's going to be an interesting weekend. First, I mean, I can't remember the last time, it's kind of cool facing Oklahoma for the first time in SEC play. Like, that's kind of interesting. Like, yeah, I'm excited to see it. It's going to be an interesting series. We hope y'all enjoyed the episode. We appreciate Lloyd for stepping in for one episode for Christian. Did phenomenal job as always. We thank y'all for tuning in. We hope y'all enjoy it and have a good weekend. Enjoy the series, and we'll see you next week.